Queensland Cowboys. So once again, go through the first 5 rounds. So round 1, Manly away. Round 2 is the Cronulla Sharks at home. Round 3, the Broncos away. Round 4, the Raiders at home. And round 5, the Broncos away. Credit to their logo at the moment, celebrating 30 years. Set on the screen for the YouTube watchers. Looks fantastic. Absolutely. It's growing on me more and more. I look at that. But let's get right into it. So straight away, hooker, Reece Robson, Carl Lawton, 330K, 2RF and hooker dual, and Reece Robson, hooker, 590K. Now, because the app is now live, we haven't been able to in the last couple of weeks let you know of ownership status and things like that. So I'll leave that to the boys. They'll be able to throw you the stats and numbers that do suit. We'll give them to you for some of the players that matter. We might not for others. But, Jesse, I'll throw to you first. What is the talking points out of here? Probably Reece Robson was highly owned last year. At the moment, I'm seeing it only 2%.
Yeah, 2% is actually crazy. I'd see there's not a lot of upside in his price. Last year, he was really underpriced because he was coming off a bit of a quieter year, and we all expected more attacking stats out of him. And, I think he was about 5 points undervalued last year, and he comes into it basically at a pretty steady price. I think he's going to hit it. I think he's a 60-point hooker and 80 minutes. So it's like, you're getting him for what he is. I still really like Reece Robson. I'm very surprised it's only 2%. Like the draw's not generous to them. I think it's actually quite hard to start off with. So, but yeah, I just think he's super reliable, super consistent, and there's very little to worry about with him. You can sort of just lock him away and forget. So, yeah, 590. It's not a bad price. I'd probably still prefer like a Watson, a bit cheaper. Again, like I don't know if I'd looking to spend near 600K on a hooker to begin with, but yeah, I can definitely see the appeal to him, but yeah, 2%, not many people can.
Trav, what are your thoughts around the Robson?
Yeah, I think Jesse just hit the nail on the head, really. I don't think I want to spend 590K on a hooker at this point in time, and playing with this team that I have for the last month, and particularly now that it's opened up over the last 24 hours, I'm realizing more and more that I can't be spending that much at the hooker spot. I need to, if I'm going to pay for someone at, maximum around that 500 or low 500K, I need every dollar I can. So I love Reece Robson. Was a happy owner of Reece Robson last year. Look, do I think his ownership is low? Yeah, I do. I think 2% is quite low. I would have thought a little bit higher, maybe around the 8 to 10% might be okay. But for me and my team and what I'm reading of it, I just can't afford him for the price that he's got. And as Jesse said too, like, yeah, okay, you're going to get your 60 points from him. You've got to navigate the tough draw early. He's got Manly at 4 points in first round. He then got to go play the Sharks. So he's got Sharks at home. Then he's got to go down to Suncorp against the Broncos. He's got the Raiders at home, and then he's got the Panthers in round 5. They've got the bye in round 7. He's the Blues Origin hooker. So you've got to navigate him missing out. So at least a bye, tough round. He's got the round 12 bye, which is Origin period anyways. He's got the Origin games. So I just, as much as I love him, I just don't, I'm not high on him just yet until after Origin.
Fair shout indeed. I think we're good to move on here straight away. Nice, short, sharp there for the hookers. Front row forwards. So a couple of real cheapies in Will Sullivan and Caden Lars. I'll just keep an eye on just how that squad is going. If they get a huge injury toll, then might be looking at those guys. Jamal Shibasaki, 232K. Thomas McKaylee, 276K. Harrison Edwards, 2RF Jules, 317K. Cohen Hess, back from an injury, didn't play a game last year. Forgotten Man in a way, 327K. 2RF Jewel as well. Jason Tamalolo, 359K. Jordan McLean, 374K. Sam McIntyre, 2RF Jewel, 396K. And Griffin Neem, 402K. That is it. That's the front row forward list there. Now, I think the first one to really talk about here is Cohen Hess, who's slipped on the radar massively, I feel like. And I'm actually starting to see a fair bit of value in Cohen Hess to the point where he's currently in my team. Trav, talk to us. Cohen Hess.
8% of people are on the same path. I think that'll improve. I think that'll go a lot higher, particularly because there's a lot of question marks around our cheapies and what's going to happen this year. And there's no one, unlike previous or the last couple of years, there's no one, there's only a very small handful of cheapies that we know of right now that we can pick. Whereas last year, I almost had most of my cheapies done, and TLT just fixed maybe 2 or 3 of them last year. So it's a tough thing. So I think Cohen Hess, we know he's going to start, or if he's not going to start, he's definitely going to get at least the 40 or 50 minutes off the bench. So the minutes are there for him. He's front row forward. He's at 327K. He's dual too. So like that's quite handy with the 2RF, FRF. So yeah, he's not in my team just yet, but the more and more I think about it, he is certainly someone that I'm going to plug and play probably before we start the year.
Jesse, let us know your thoughts around the Cohen Hess move, and then start to push us any other direction you want to go here with the front row forwards.
Yeah, well, Cohen Hess is he's at the cheaper end of the cheapy second row, well, the dual forwards in general bracket. So there's really no one below him that I can see any relevancy to. So I expect minutes out of him. Even if it's his current price value, if he does get a bit of a short stint, if it's 40 minutes, he probably makes 30 something points. So not massive upside potentially. There could be enough, but I think he's just someone to plug a hole with, to be fair, and that dual position kind of helps. So yeah, there's really not too many other options, and I think it's just more of a it's a safety and a budget pick just to have one. So outside of that, there's really nothing. You went through 10 players and they just scream irrelevance. Like their highest averaging front row just in that position is Griffin Neem at 41. And just, 0%, like for a good reason. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with him. There's not a great deal that ever happens out of the Cows props. So it's just, there's not really much to scream home about. But it's like I know Thomas McKaylee was sort of touted last year and I haven't heard anything from it since because he didn't get anywhere. But yeah, there's really nothing going on for anyone in the props of this side, I'd say.
Do you think Taumalolo can bring some of that international feel back to his game this year? Because God, he was a beast.
Not with Peyton around. I can't see anything changing for him. Honestly, I think it just
he's out for the first couple of weeks as well. I'm pretty sure.
He is.
It's just not going to see the Taumalolo of old ever again in the NRL.
Not with Peyton there anyway. There's something going on there for sure. There's something going on. One day, Jason Taumalolo release a book and everyone will straight away go fast forward to the Todd Payton section and we'll finally hear the truth about there was a punch up in the dressing room or something.
What a good book that would be. He would have a rad story in his life. God, he's a good dude.
3 pages dedicated to Peyton.
It'd be more than that.
4 chapters, sorry. 3 chapters at least.
Hopefully a bit of a feature for us last year because we gave Peyton a few shout-outs last year. He wasn't our greatest fan, I don't feel like, throughout the year. We were a bit unhappy when it came to Supercoach in minutes to certain players. But anyway, you've made a good point there. So 2 RFs, I'll go over. As I said, there was a few duels, so I'll just literally mention the name. We'll move on. So a couple of young guns, Mason Kira and Emali Batungang. So I got no idea. I'm not even going to try it. Harrison Edwards, Cohen Hess, Carl Lawton, or Jules, Kai O'Donnell, Sam McIntyre, Jewel, Helam Lukey, John Bateman, 505K, sorry for Lukey, John Bateman, 522K, Ruben Cotter, 560K, and Jeremiah Nanai, 619K. Jesse, talk to us. A couple of big names on this list. John Bateman is the question. We obviously always get to our little questions first. So I believe this one from you as well. So the 80-minute, 522.9K man, undervalued question mark. I didn't think that sentence would ever be with John Bateman ever again.
Yeah, I know. There's actually a lot going on for the second rowers. And a little bit of information has come forward. I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see what happens with it because I was sort of going into it anticipating Bateman to kind of fill that Lukey void now that he's basically out for the season. So I was expecting 80-minute Bateman. That could be fun on the edge, no dramas. And I went back and had a look at some of his just 80-minute stats just in general. Obviously at the Raiders he was a beast. 73-point average at the Raiders playing 80 on the edge. Dropped 11 points down to 62 at the Tigers. So at a 62-point average, 80 minutes on the edge, valued at 522, he's undervalued, of course. In a better attacking side, you'd have to think so. Obviously, it makes the difference. Like, the question is always there: is he going to handle the heat? How's he going to go into another club? You know what I mean? Like, we all know what Bateman does. He sort of just gets over it and pulls the plug. But I've seen a little bit about him potentially being through the middle as a lock, or somewhere of the like. And Kai O'Donnell is actually looking like he's a favourite for that edge spot. So, a couple things in and around around the town. I have to see, because I'm very keen. If that's the case, Kai O'Donnell was never on my radar, and now he is, and he's 336. So,
hang on. Do you have a little business trip that you just did recently up to towns, or you just said around the town? Do you have some expenses to claim or something, or what?
Yeah. I'll send you the receipt. Just pay me back tax time.
When did some Supercoach news, met Kai O'Donnell, and you come back with a huge bit of news.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see, because it's I've seen a couple of people talking about it anyway, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll humor this a little bit and see what happens. So, yeah, it could make both of them really good options in general, but I don't mind it. Like, Bateman I had Lukey in my very first team at the 500k mark, and I thought, yeah, sweet. Like, I like Lukey's potential. We always know what he can do with big minutes. And then when he dropped out, I just straight up swapped him for Bateman. I thought, yeah, it's just not nice seeing him in a team. There's a lot of stigma around John Bateman, so.
I just can't see him being an 80-minute NRL player anymore. That's my thing. Like, what you're saying makes sense, because if you can get like maybe 2 stints or something around the middle and be that sort of player, that probably seems to be more his style now. I just feel like obviously a lot's happened. He was a gun, but we can't keep saying was a gun to players and just expect him to miraculously get that form again when he hasn't had that form for 3 years now. So
I just think the whole time. When someone was a gun and they went to the Tigers and they leave, you have to revert to being them was a gun once again. So it's I just can't. I just have to. Any time at the Tigers, I got to write it off like it never happened and just look what happened beforehand. Until they prove me wrong again. So, Trav, I'll let you get in, because there's a lot of options here, and I feel like I've been talking for a while.
Oh, you can keep going. You can keep going.
Right.
There is lots of options. I'll weigh in on Bateman, and then you can go and throw back to you. But actually, I'm really high on Bateman. I think he fills a need that the Cowboys majorly have. And as Jesse, you just said, which I think the challenge for you is to throw a Tigers poor reference somehow in every podcast for the rest of this year. So if you can do that, I've got something for you at the end of the season, right?
It's not hard to do. Sorry, I'm really sorry, Tiger supporters. It makes it sound like I bloody hate him. I don't. It's just, oh god.
But I'm really high on Bateman this year, and very keen to get him into my team. I think he fills every need that the Cowboys have. I don't have a problem with the fact that he's a POM, and that it's hot up there. It is what it is. He's been up there for the preseason. No doubt he probably won't leave his house, and he'll only come out when he's got to go to play and train, or he's on his way between his car and the pub. So I think the pale, skin of a POM will be managed pretty well. So yeah, I have no issues with him in that sort of aspect. Look, and I get what you're saying. There's a stigma around some of the behaviour and things, but I don't truly buy into a lot of what happened at the Tigers last year. I reckon a lot of this was the Tigers and them finding a way to get rid of him and their rubbish more than Bateman being a pain in the ass. So I don't buy into that as much either. So yeah, I'm pretty keen on him at 522. I think it's a really nice price. I think he can easily put on 100k by round 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is pretty good for a 2RF.
No, definitely. What do you reckon, Joel? What are your thoughts on Bateman?
I'm not going anywhere near John Bateman. I can't believe you guys are saying this stuff so confidently, and I don't want anything to do with him. Do not want him in my team. Goodbye. You can have my word now, everyone. I will never have John Bateman in my Supercoach team ever again. If that ever happens, you can come back, bring this up. There'll be a punishment. It's fine. I will never, ever have him. I don't care if he's doing 100+ games, 4 games in a row. I will not be going near John Bateman.
Why? That's why you will come last.
Why? That makes no sense. He's
Yeah.
put 4
I've just
games of
said my
100 on,
reasons
and
why.
he puts 4 games on for 100, and you still say no. It makes no sense. That's just stupidity.
Yeah,
Why have
No,
we
thank
got
you.
Supercoach.
this?
I
Is
don't.
it's
I don't want it. I don't want the John Bateman saga affecting my boys this year. We're going for the title, and I don't need anyone that's not on the bus. End of story. I want commitment, 110% commitment. Talk to us, Jesse, about these other. You said this is lighting your those sort of fire emojis in your eyes at the moment. This list.
Mm.
Talk to
Yeah.
us.
Oh, there's just a lot of upside. There's a lot of, oh, sorry, no, I wouldn't say upside. A lot of options. So you've got Nanai, obviously 619.5. Super try reliant. Obviously scored a mozza of him. I just at his price, it's too dear for me. I don't see it's 1% ownership. I can see it every day. I don't see how 1% really are committing to him. To be fair, so a lot of better options around that 600 mark. There's not a great deal. The floor is quite low. The tries, when they start coming, they're pretty good. But yeah, not for me at that price. But definitely option if he does drop quite a lot, which can happen. I think his price fluctuates quite a bit because it is all about the tries for him. Ruben Cotter has lost his jewel. And unfortunately, he's just lost all sort of relevancy to me at that. So I really liked him as a jewel. I thought he was really nice, handy plug in the front row. I started with him last year, so and I ran with him for quite a while too, and it was really good. But yeah, it's always a minutes thing, especially when you're putting that kind of position in your second row when you kind of want the 80 out of him. He's a big minute player though, so like he does get into it, and he's always a good for a point a minute. So 560, I would go Bateman for less, with more upside. Obviously, there's the Kai O'Donnell thing, 336. If it does look like he's going to get a good spot, it's an easy plug. And if you're going to be rolling with that second row position that you're playing with that mid 300s, and it's between like Cohen, Hess, and O'Donnell, just have to keep an eye on it because the potential for O'Donnell is kind of unknown. So I'm always keen to roll the dice with these guys. It was Kai Pearce-Paul last year. He was quite good at the same price coming in. Morgan Smithies was all right for a while too, and then he sort of just plodded along. But you just got to time him, really. Outside of that, there's not too much else. Unfortunately, obviously, Helam Lukey's gone. He could have been a really good one. I was actually really keen to see him get some footy under him again, but another year, no Lukey. So,
What are your thoughts, Trav?
Yeah, pretty much second all of that, or copy it. The only thing I'll say is Nanai is so young and has so much potential. He's played 21 matches last year. He averaged 63 points. And we're talking about how reliant he is on tries, yet he scored 63 points. If he can find a way to score without tries, that's going to improve. He was still the 12th ranked 2RF in the competition. I think I wouldn't start with him, but he's certainly someone I've got a star next to as a watch list because he's only going to get better. Like he's been relying on tries. He's only going to get a lot better. So definitely, I don't hate the pick for people for trying to pick for potential upside. There's certainly one there for potential upside.
One thing I don't mind the Cotter move, because I look at the draw and I know because there's a lot of the better teams to start with, it means he's more involved generally. I actually don't mind that. So I'll look back and see some of his numbers, I guess, against some of these more quality oppositions. But I just feel like by the naked eye test, he always is basing quite high when it comes to these sorts of teams, and he's involved, tackling his ass out basically. So I originally was looking at him. I have now not, because first of all, the duel is a real pain in the backside. So I don't really like that side of it. And just that there's a couple of other options now that have become available. They're a little bit cheaper, and it just helps me do something else to my team. So yeah, but I can see a little argument to have Cotter at the start just to get your stock standard 60 odd points each and every week. No real stress by it. And then while you're watching maybe Tino, and that can be your downgraded Tino after 5-6 weeks, once Tino's minutes hopefully start to increase, if they're not started by getting increased minutes to start with, which is starting to become an early rumor out there about the Titans and Tino. So yeah, maybe just to wait and see what happens there around those sorts of players.
Yeah, just like he's 30k dearer than Tino, and even still, when I look at a Cotter, I'd just probably look at like a Josh Curran. with the duel for, Josh Curran's 546. So he's cheaper. Cotter's got to contend with the exact same run that Robson has when it comes to Origin and the buys and the work. So, that's what I'm looking at it. I'm just like, he's lost the duel. He's a bit dearer than a couple other, I'd say, more appealing options. I just don't see like it's the year for him anymore. We'll have to see. I don't think he's going to be bad by any means, but yeah.
I think Cotter's one of those guys where he's very good in NRL and he's pretty good, okay Supercoach, right? He's just what he does on the NRL field doesn't correlate to really good scores in Supercoach. 57 points is what he averaged last year, and by all means, he had a pretty good year last year. So, yeah, I don't see Supercoach upside in him.
Yep.
Fair, very, very fair. Alrighty, the halfbacks. So, Zach Hedigan, 198k. Tom Duffy, starting to become a name. A lot of super coaches are talking about 198k, bottom dollar halfback. Was pictured in the Cowboys 7 jersey for Media Day, I believe, and that has got a lot of tongues wagging. And then next man on the list, Jake Clifford, halfback, not 533k. There is rumours Duffy is ahead of him at the moment in the pecking order, which is absolutely huge because a 198k starting halfback can moonwalk naked into my team. I'm telling you right now. So, Jesse, talk to us. Obviously, there's only really one man on this list to talk about, in my opinion. Well, I mean, even if Clifford can get it, he averaged last year 60, so there's still a little bit of value in him. But 533k, you're probably going lower or you're going up to Cleary, I'm imagining.
Yeah, Clifford's in an awkward price point at 530. He's got a hernia surgery, I think he's coming back from. So I don't know how long it'll be before we see Clifford back in. And that's the only thing that sort of puts a yellow warning sign up against Tom Duffy, because, that price, you're like, geez, give me some of that. But how long is he going to be there for? And if he is a step ahead, then sweet. Just give it some time, let it roll, see how it plays out, because it could be really bad too. And then you got a 200k halfback and you're 600k away from, a gun. So that's sort of where I'm a bit hesitant for. But look, man, it could be really, really cool. Again, it's not super relevant for me. Like, Clifford looks underpriced by his 60-point average, and I think he's got a big game in him here and there too. But again, awkward price point, and I just want to see what happens when he's actually back fit, if it's his spot, and Duffy's just keeping it warm. So
very fair, Trav.
Yeah, look, Duffy's in my team, but only because I was just praying to God that I can find someone under 200k, and there it was, right? And I said to you last week, I'm buying into the hype trains. I bought into that hype train. It allowed me to do so much with my team. I've got 3 fullbacks, all sorts of things, and I love where my team's sitting right now. But I'm also very, very realistic that ain't going to happen. And I have this bad feeling, right, that we're going to have 198k or people that do picking, and currently he's in 9% of teams. And I think that's just based on hope and prayers. But I've got this really bad feeling that we're going to have 198k sitting on our bench from round 3 because Clifford will be back early. And it's Clifford's team as a halfback. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So, and I just do not want to get stuck with a forced nuff by round 3 at 198k in a halfback spot where, eventually I want to have 2 halfbacks. So, it's not a good option for me at the moment. Unless he comes through and is played. But I just think it might be better off actually just watching and waiting and seeing. And if he gets the first 2 rounds that are pretty tough, he's got Manly and Sharks. And does all right. If he even gets there, then I can reassess. But at this point in time, he's in my team, but he'll be out soon.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You don't want to nuff a halfback, but still, like, you could probably make a play about a Sandon Smith flex. And then if Duffy looks good, then you just put Sandon Smith at hooker and move him up and, drop a hooker for Duffy. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely options you can have because that Sandon Smith flex is really handy.
But I'm not putting
with the jewels.
I'm not putting someone in my flex to cover Duffy at 198 in my halfback spot. Like,
yeah, but if you want to make some quick cash, that's the whole reason you're doing it. Like, Duffy's not going to be your season keeper in halfback, but it could be a ticket to a couple 100k before you do something better. But again, I don't like playing with halfback like that. It's not the position for it.
Tell you what, this flex position has got so many different, like, it's so funny how when it first opened up and people were able to, it was just 90% of people, Iongi, let's go.
Yeah.
It's funny now that a bit more thought's gone into it, more planning, and people going, oh, what can we do with it already? And we're still, 4 weeks or 5 weeks until the competition sort of starting. There's already all these different sort of ways about going about it. I love it. There's going to be even more to come. So keep tuning in. I'm sure Jesse will be looking into things a lot and working out the best ways to go about this flex. But at the moment, it seems like it's Iongi or an expensive fullback is the best way to go, in my opinion, and then going from there. But looks like the great man's mind is ticking over. He's ready to just say, no, I've got some other ways to go about this. 5'8", Tommy Dearden. Now, he's 597K in the app. Now, on the screen here, we've got Tom Dearden only 3% ownership. That's changed within about 2 hours because he's now 4%. So people are jumping on at a rapid rate to Tommy Dearden. They're on board the hype train. They've read your mind somehow, Jesse. Talk to us about Tommy Dearden. What's 597K, 4%?
Yeah, I think he's going to run this side more than Clifford will when he gets that spot back
100%.
by a long margin.
Team.
It's his team. It's it's Clifford's time. Oh, sorry, no, it's Dearden's time to shine. Sorry, I had Clifford on my mind, but yeah, it's he's ready for it, man. It's time. Like we've seen it. You saw it last year. He was raring, and I just feel like he's getting so much better every year too, and it's almost come to a head now. Where you think it's got to be a huge breakout, and if it's a 60-point average again or 61 like he got last season, it's still not bad by any means, and I don't think it's ever going to go lower than that for a long while. I think he's just going to get better and better. So the ownership's really low because his price is quite good, and a 5'8" position at the moment is kind of ugly. There's a few options at the 600 and a couple up, but outside of that, like we're only playing really with like 5 or 6 guys at the moment as viable options in the 5'8", and I really like him as an option there too. And more than like 650 Brown and 650 Matt Burton, 50K less, he's great. So yeah, it's just obviously we've spoken about it twice already about the the run they have with an Origin, and he's straight into it too. So you're going to miss him for quite a lot of the time, but there's a fair bit away before we have to worry about that right now. So I like him.
Trav, you a Dearden fan?
Yeah, I put out one of my predictions is he's a sneaky play for Dally M. I think just what Dearden does and the improvement that he's got for natural progression just results in being seen. So votes for Dally M is huge. I think his progression again this year is going to just go through the roof, and that we know, and as Jesse just said, it's his team. Like Clifford's going to come in, and as I said, it's Clifford's spot, but Clifford's not the man. Dearden's the man, right? I am one of those 4%, and I've highly recommended to many people who have messaged me or our legends. Dearden is get him. I one of the first things I look at is the 5'8". If I don't see Dearden, I go, I reckon I'm putting all my rocks in on that and all my bank on Dearden this year. I think he's just going to go through the roof. I've got at least a 5-point better average on him. So I'm thinking around 66, 65 at a minimum would be, for me, a pretty acceptable year. I think he's going to get better than that. I'm very high on Dearden. Yeah, he's got the round 7 bye. He more than likely plays Origin. Geez, you'd be a tough man to not have him play Origin, even though Munster is back. They have to find a spot for him in Origin unless something happens to him. So, yeah, you navigate some of that, but I've got some plans around it. Like currently I've got Metcalf sitting in my other spot, so I can manage it that way or some different ways, or I trade him out over Origin and bring him back later for the end of the year. So for the end of the run, like I'm happy to do that too. I'm just very high on Dearden.
Is that first round draft pick I'm hearing?
No.
Well, there's not many 5'8", so he'll be an early pick.
He will be an early pick, yep.
Yep. Definitely.
I would definitely not be picking him up in my first round,
though. Maybe a couple later.
I was just trying to clarify how high you were on him. That was all.
Yeah, he got a 97.
High.
He got a 97 and 96 last year. They're his two highest. There's a lot of 60s and 70s in there, though, like in the middle. Only a couple that have dipped below the 50s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just 6 games under 50 points. Very consistent, very steady, and we're expecting his output to increase. Yeah, man, that price, like it's really not bad. I think he's going to be. He's probably got at least 10 points, somewhere in between 5 to 10 points of value, I would say, this year. Just going off what we've sort of seen
At
out of him.
least
Honestly,
10 points is a huge call, and I love it
5.
because that's great because I'm very high on him. So
Yeah,
if that's where it goes, let's go.
I can genuinely see it. Like, we've seen him progressively getting better and better. He averaged 61 the year before, 58 the year before, 58.2. So he's hitting that 60 quite comfortably with a game that's getting better. So, like, what's to say he can't push a 68 average? You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I think that's quite realistic.
Yep. No, I think you both make some very good points, and I think Tommy Dearden's ownership, by the next week when we look at all this again, he'll be up to 10%. There'll be a lot of listeners listening to this. They'll chuck him straight in their team. Center wings. Now, we've got it up there. The CTW cheapies save the day, question mark. Now, when I go through this list, I almost want to cut it off because I want to talk more so about these cheapies than I do the expensive ones. But anyway, we'll go through it respectfully. Robert Derby, 214K. Jackson Purdue, 257. Tom Chester, fullback dual, 278K. Jackson Paulo, the new signing from Manly, 335K. Semi Valame, the tank is back, 386K. Zachy Labart, I just love saying that name, 389K. Love what he did to me early last year. Viliami Vailea, 408K. Braden Burns, still there, 559K. No, you're not hearing that wrong. 559K with an average last year of 71.5. Out of this world. Murray Tuolangi, 605K as well. Now, when you look at the ownership percentage, the top player, wow, there's a 41%, a 12%, and a 7%. Absolute. This is the cheapy way to go, in my opinion. This Cowboys team, it's going to be a balance of how many to get. But at the same time, when it's a year where we're struggling to find cheapies, I feel like it's only natural to almost jump on them, all of them, because it's just going to be so hard to get to these cheapies. So it's going to be a bit of a sticky situation. But talk to us, Trav. Talk us through this predicament we might be in. It's sort of like, as I said just then, like, I feel like in a way we've got to do it.
Oh, we have to. There's nothing else screaming out to us. So to make our teams, they've got to be in there. I actually think it's probably better to quickly analyze the top and go down this time because the top is not important to us.
Off you go.
Like, you've got like Tuolangi, right, at 605K, average basically 62, 61.8. That's a pretty good average. Like, that's a really good average. But 0% ownership and should be. I don't think anyone should really own him. I think he's a gun. Love him with the way he plays. I love how he goes about what he does in defense. But he's not someone that I'm high on. Supercoach is much better upside and play. Braden Burns, as you said, I mean, I called it last year as well. Like, what the hell's wrong? Like, this dude just puts up numbers and it just doesn't make the team. It doesn't make any sense. So don't go anywhere near him. Vaila, is it Vailea? Vailea. Again, no ownership, own that. Wouldn't be interested at that. And then we get to Labour. Now, 7%, I'm so surprised because I actually think Labour's got the best upside out of all of them. But I think maybe that 389K is a little bit deterring. But it shouldn't be. You're just going to have to find a way to put him in because for the way that our team's being made with the options that we've got and the knowledge that we've currently got, that 380K is actually cheap. Like a 390K is actually cheap for what it's looking like. And can't believe he's only 7% owned. I think he's someone you've got to get in and make your team work. Jackson Paulo.
Well. Sorry, I also feel with Labour, he's in your first 4 center wings. So if you can get a 3.
Is he still there?
Oh,
Doesn't look like it.
I think he's trying to say 3 guns and then Laybutt as the 4th. So he's currently sitting as my 4th player on my center wings as well. I think he's in yours too, Jesse.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. So Joel's point's correct. Like, he's definitely someone with the potential that he's got at 389 to be sitting there in your starting team for sure. So I'm just so surprised that at 7%, that's all he's owned. I'm not high on Jackson Paolo at all. More so just because I don't know a lot about him just yet. I know he's new to the club, but I don't think he's got a spot yet. He might be someone that he pops up as a downgrade target later on. But that's about sort of that. And then Tom Chester, I'm not interested in. What do we got? Jackson Purdue at 41% is incredible. How's that ownership for that for a dude? Is it 257?
Through the roof.
Oh, yeah, it's through the roof.
Madness.
But again, you have to have him, right? At that price, we know he's starting, has potential. Like, he played 8 games last year at 26, but there's reasons why, right? There was just the spots weren't there for him. You had Val Holmes, you had Felt, you've got Nanai, you've got Talangi, you've got all these guys. Like, Nano shifted into the centers at times. So like there's all these dudes that are playing. He just didn't have that spot, yet still put up a 26 over 8 games. So he's definitely someone you've got to keep. I need help because until I looked at this afternoon, I don't know anything about Derby, to be honest, and he's 12% owned. So I'd love some clarity around Derby. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm looking.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole Derby thing. I think it's just the price. I think people are just trying to look for potential options in the cashy side, and when they sort of come out of the woods, we'll see that change maybe quite a lot. But yeah, obviously, like a couple of the guns up there, Talagi, Burns can be a freaking weapon on his day as well. Like, you just have to see what the team looks like now with no Holmes. There's a position that's opened up, and we're expecting by ownership and even just like mine and your thoughts in general, Purdue and Laybutt are the centers, and I see it. I sort of would expect that, to be honest with you. And I think like Laybutt's locked into my side. Both of them are, to be fair. I've just gone straight to both and kept with the ownership. And I think their price points are fantastic. I think Laybutt's got a massive ceiling. And like his base is quite low. He's played 8 games for the Cows in the last 2 years. Kind of patchy, but he's got scores of a 26, a 46, a 91, a 65, a 103, which is in round 1 last year, where everyone sort of jumped straight onto him. Went 26 after that, 23, and then a 47 in 19 minutes, which looked like he was going to be on for an absolute freaking monster of a score. And then he did his ACL. I think it was ACL.
Yeah.
So, like, he can go boom big time. And for 380k, lock him in. I'm super keen on that. But pretty much nothing else going on in there for me. Just those 2 boys.
Yeah, just those 2. But I mean, I'm very eager and would love someone to talk to me about Derby at 12% ownership. So
with nothing to go off. So
so I haven't heard anything. I mean, I had a look at it when I was looking at this ownership. About it. I can't read much about it. The club hasn't really said anything about it. So I'm not sure why there's 12% that are owning him. Maybe they've got some news that we don't have. So we're going to need to get that if you can and send it to us because I'm very eager. But
100%.
I'd be highly suggesting to everybody to get Laybutt and do whatever, and Purdue, which most have for Purdue. But Laybutt is definitely a must-have. I'm calling that now, and that center wing has saved our lives in terms of Supercoach for the mid-price or the cheap madness that we need.
Yeah, definitely. His base is quite low, but God, he can go massive. So just get him in, ride the wave. But the big talking point, really, the one that I sort of want to get to is the fullback, Mr. Scotty Drinkwater himself. I'm going to call it massively underpriced. Easy player to plug into your fullback slot. No questions. Just get him in. I love it. I love it. 770 for Scott Drinkwater. I freaking love it. He couldn't be in my team fast enough, to be honest with you. And I just have to work out what I'm doing with my other fullback and my flex position if I'm putting 2 other fullbacks in there, guns. But I cannot take him out. He's so good.
So 78 average last year, 78.7, played 24 matches. Is he going to play Origin? Nope.
Nope.
So the only time he's missing matches really is for buys. He averaged 78.7. All the talk, and I think actually it was announced that he's kicking. How many points does that equate to extra in your expert opinion, Jesse?
I would say at least a 12-point bump.
12-point bump. So that's going to put him to 90, and we can get him at 770, right? So we're talking Teddy price right there.
Exactly.
And we can get him for 770. It's just, to me, a no-brainer, and I'm so shocked when I looked at this and looked, because I picked Scott Drinkwater first. Actually, no, I didn't. I didn't pick Scott Drinkwater in the team picker first. My second team had Scott Drinkwater once I actually looked at it, because I was like, no, I need to have Turbo. I wanted to start Latrell Mitchell, and I wanted to start Ponga. That were my two first fullback picks. Then when I properly looked at it, I properly looked at the draw. I did all that. I'm like, no, I've got to go Turbo. And I've got to go Drinkwater now that I know that he's kicking, or that I think he's drinking.
He's drinking.
That I know that he's kicking. So, like, it's just incredible. We've just got to have it. You just got to pick him.
Yeah, he's very confident lock in my side. I really like it. I think I paid he was 890K last year or 840K, something like that to start. It was a
starting
lot.
price. Starting price was 851. End price, he ended at 789.
He's back.
Hello.
We've got a blackout. Live podcasting, got a blackout. I've hotspotted to the phone so to get everything back up. Hopefully it's good quality. It should be. It's all 5G in that now, so we should have decent internet now, but let me know if it's good or not.
That's fantastic. We were just talking about the GOAT himself, Scott Drinkwater.
The GOAT.
Oh.
The GOAT.
Surely you both said he has to be in the team.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I stoked on him. I had him so long last year. He doesn't get injured. He doesn't play Origin. He's super reliable, super consistent. He's kicking goals now. Just get him and enjoy it, because he can do amazing things. I love that pickup.
I'm spewing I've missed that cheapy chat, because that was getting me going. I loved it.
Just have to go back and listen to it again. But we basically said,
apologies, guys. Apologies. I'll
great.
try and edit all this so it's not a huge distraction to what's happened. So
your whole area of power going out is out of your control, Joel. That's just life. We'll be right.
Technology, how good. And I've got literally the phone light shining on me to make sure. So my eyes are copying it, but I'm doing this for you guys. We've got a huge community now, and got to make sure we produce to you guys what we can. So
love that. Well,
what else is that it?
That's it. Cowboys.
Thanks, Cows.
Thank you, Cowboys. Well, there you go. Everything, all talking points are done and dusted. And Scotty Drinkwater, I'm telling you now, number one draft pick, right here, telling you right now. So all those in draft.
He's an easy first rounder.
League of Inches Div 1 comp. Drinkwater, number one.